Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back to some more bite-sized business advice, and we have my favorite type of episode today. We have a success story, a story of an entrepreneur's journey, because there's too many people out there. Hopefully I don't fall into this category, but just telling you, go do it, go chase your dreams. You're going to be a millionaire. It's all BS, okay? We want to hear how real people, boots on the ground, made their mark on this world, chased their dreams, and how they grew their business. So I have Chelsea Albert with me. She is an intuitive hypnotherapist, and we're going to unpack her story and see what's going on, how you grow your business on a shoestring budget. So before we dive in, Chelsea, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Brandon, I'm so stoked to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I'm excited. The computer gnomes are attacking both of us already in this episode. So we're gonna see how this goes, right? I always love technology.
Mercury's in Gatorade or something like that. I don't know.
So no, I'm excited to dive in though. Intuitive hypnotherapy. That sounds complex. It sounds like you need 7 degrees. I'm curious though, what got you into this line of work in the first place?
Yeah, so I had started out in the salon industry, and you're always everyone's therapist in that industry anyway, right? But I wanted to work with people on a deeper level. So flash forward, I went through my own kind of journey, and I went through a divorce, and I was looking for my own healing, and I went to every therapist in the books, the psychologist, the psychiatrist, the nail lady, everyone that I could try to go to. And it wasn't until I found hypnotherapy that something actually really clicked and stuck, and I was able to get past all those old patterns that I was going through. So naturally thought, oh my God, I have to learn this. And then once I learned it, I was like, how do I get clients? How do I actually like click this over? Because it was a unique industry, and it still is. And it's hopefully I can share something with maybe some of your more non-traditional audience today that are working on something that may not be as easy as, hey, something that you can put on a business card.
Yeah, I think everything's a non-traditional business. At least it should be viewed that way, because there's so many lies on the internet about, run this Facebook ad and triple your business overnight, or do a 5-day challenge and get clients effortlessly. Like, I can't stand these lies on the internet about how to grow your business, how to get clients. So that's the magic question, is what you said. How do I get clients for this unique business? That's what everybody's always asking, especially when they're in startup mode. But even further, like, we ask ourselves that, we ask our clients that. How do we get clients, and how do we do it for as little of a cost as possible? And I think that's a valuable question to not fall in this trap of, again, all the gurus on the internet. So before we move forward, I have to know, who was the best therapist for you? Was it the nail lady, or was it the actual certified therapist? Because I have a hunch, but I want to hear from you.
Oh God, I gotta tell you, between the nail lady and my hairstylist, usually they can, click something over. But I do have a couple of healing mentors. The guy who, like I said, actually eventually became my teacher, he was definitely like the catalyst to everything, I think. And since then, I've had people who have been with me on my journey since beforehand, like my energy healing mentor. She's been there with me kind of through like my actual awakening, and like, oh shit, I actually do want to be a healer. So yeah, I've had a lot of mentors along the way, but I think honestly for me, traditional therapy always tended to plateau. So I was looking for something that would break through that plateau, because I was always super analytical, and I was really good at talking myself into circles and trying to help the therapist. Like, yeah, no, it has to be my parents, clearly. And I would go off on a spin. So I had to get out of my own way. And the unconscious work and the energy work that I've been doing and that I've incorporated into my own practice have really would have been what got me out of my head.
Yeah, I would say, this is a business show. So from a business perspective, I think therapists have one of the best business models, because they retain their clients for a long time. And I think you can read between the lines of how I feel about traditional therapy.
Yeah. And you speak to something that's kind of really a struggle with my industry. My goal as a healer is to help you not need me as efficiently as possible, which is a terrible business model.
It really is. This is dumb. Why are you doing this?
Right, but I want your referrals more than I want your money. So I would rather help somebody heal and not need me, except maybe, occasionally when something comes up, and I would rather them tell 20 friends about me. Like that's just kind of how I've always operated, but you're right, it is a terrible business model to help people heal.
No, I think it's the best. We are fractional COOs. We're consultants. Same model. We need to get you off of our client list as soon as possible because that means your company's actually growing. It's successful. You can afford a full-time COO costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars. I believe in that business model because the client is winning, and when they win, they give you referrals to their
Yeah.
best friends and other businesses that they know. So I love this business model, and I want to unpack it for you and your story. So you fell in love with hypnotherapy. You knew you had to do this. You had to be a healer. You went and got trained, and then you asked that question, right? How do I get clients? So I want to hear, like, what was your journey to get the first client? I think that's always a fun story.
Ooh. So my first client was kind of captive. I was working in the salon. I was doing eyelash extensions. So I have one of my favorites there on the table, and she's talking about how she had been wanting to date, and she had ever since her divorce, she's been sketched out about it, but she really wants to meet someone, but she really that whole thing. And I'd been hearing her come in with this for a good little while, and then finally, this is shortly after I finished my extended mentorship. I said, you know what? Let me try something. And sometimes I think like getting that first client has to almost be like hey, can I just try this? Sometimes your first client's not always paid. Sometimes they turn into your first paying client. But I think that's the hardest one to do. And I think sometimes you just have to dive in with somebody who's already within your circle, who's already open to it. So like, if you're an artist and that somebody near you, they're always, showing things on Instagram of cool, unique art. Hey, let me show you this. What do you think? Hey, what about this? Or if you've written something, hey, would you mind reading this? Just something to get that first little click in. And from there, it starts rolling a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's fair. So then how did that one turn out? Was it like that one-time session on the table, or did she turn into a paying client?
So she actually did pay me for a few more sessions because she came back 3 weeks later and said, okay, well, I've gotten online and I met someone I actually like. So we did another session on another relationship that she had and healed that. And the next 3 weeks she comes in, she goes, yeah, we've been on a couple dates. I think I really like him. And just an update, they got married this year. So I was hooked, she was hooked. And it was like, okay, yes, this is something that has legs. This is something I can do.
That's amazing. How long ago was that first session?
Oh gosh, 3 years, I think. 3, 4
Wow.
years, something like let's see, I started in 2020, I started my education, and then 2021, I dove in and I was like, okay, I am Chelsea, I'm a hypnotherapist, and let's do this and see what happens.
Yeah, that's amazing though. I mean, 3 years, lasting results. Did you get rid of her as a client? I mean, it sounds like pretty
Mhm.
quickly she kind of overcame what was stopping her and now she's married. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool. And just, she's still in my heart, but we caught up a little while back, kind of beginning of last year, and it was just so cool to get that update because sometimes I don't get updates. That's another challenge of being in business for yourself is sometimes your clients that are actually really happy may never talk to you again. And it's getting over that ego and getting over that self-esteem of I need glowing feedback from everybody.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, that's awesome. And then I can see obviously you're hooked, right? Like you had success, you loved it beforehand, you had success, relatively quick success, it sounds like. How did you go from one client who you just randomly tried something on to then actually building a business around hypnotherapy? It's not as easy to say like every client just laid on the table in front of you wanting eyelash extensions. I assume.
Right, and then I can just convert them.
Yeah, right.
That was it was my idea at first, but that obviously didn't work. Because there's a boundary there. People are just coming to see you for beauty services. They're not always coming. So I had to understand those boundaries. But more interestingly enough, like my journey in particular, for some reason, the social media marketing, all the gurus that you were talking about, it didn't work for me. I didn't like it. It didn't feel authentic. It didn't feel like, and people I think were responding to the fact that I didn't feel it was authentic. So, um, if you've ever read The Art of War, and I haven't read it in years, but there's a line from Sun Tzu that says, "Be where you are not expected." I think that's huge for anybody in any industry, but, I started getting invited to networking groups and just little local Nashville free networking groups where you go around the table, have a minute speech, let everyone know who you are and what you do. And that surprisingly was what built my business. And I was so scared to go into those meetings because I thought, well, who am I? I'm this kooky, skater punk kind of kid who's telling people that she's going to tinker in their head. They are not going, like, these insurance agents are not going to want to hear from me. But turns out you never know who's going to want your service. You may think that you're in a total room that you don't belong in, and there's someone who just goes, huh, I've actually been looking for that. Tell me more. So, kind of going out of my own industry's box was actually what helped me get clients. And also Facebook groups. I was remarkably successful with local women's groups because a lot of, and this was just for mental health industry, but a lot of women's groups are very supportive of mental health. So a lot of them feel vulnerable posting, hey, does anyone know a therapist? Does anyone who can know anyone who can help me with my anxiety? And I started posting on there and responding and started getting more and more feedback and more interest. And then after that, people started shouting me out. And it kind of snowballed from there, but definitely working with a local audience and going into areas and arenas that your industry typically doesn't go into would be my best advice for building a business.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, technically, you are on social media doing that, but not in the traditional sense, like you talked
Yeah.
about.
Like that whole, here, do this for, like, post 5 times a week for this amount of clients. Those gurus that really sell like a package program. I was just kind of throwing spaghetti at a wall, and that was the wall that stuck.
Hmm. Yeah, not always our best advice to throw spaghetti at the wall, but
No,
for you,
I
obviously,
don't.
you do have to test. And I really don't believe in just blindly following advice of gurus because they say something worked. Does it work for them, or does it work universally? Or are they going to hold your hand and figure out how it works for you in your situation? That's the difference in that line. Like, if someone's going to sit with you on one and say, like, no, this is how you leverage Instagram to grow your business, I'll sit with you for the next 8 weeks to do it. Fine. If it's go post on Instagram 5 times a week and it'll grow your business, how? Somebody please explain that to me. I can't
Yeah,
stand that advice.
exactly. I think, especially when you are kind of on a very low budget, because I didn't have a lot of money to invest into, like, a bunch of ads or a bunch of, I didn't even know who I was at the time. So I couldn't really advertise that. Um, and I think you're right. I think you don't want to be throwing spaghetti at a wall for too long. Once you figure out what works, hammer it. Um, but I think in that beginning phase, at least for myself, and maybe you had a different experience that I'd love to hear about. Um, I would not. I would try to kind of overthink it and be like, okay, this is a strategy I'm going to use. This is this. This is this. But the things I've had the most success with have started with, okay, I'm just going to tinker. I'm going to be open. I'm going to see what new avenue this doesn't seem to make sense, but I'm just going to try it. If it doesn't work, I'll leave it. But if it does work, keep running with it.
Yeah, I think everything you're saying is hitting on the fact that business is built on relationships and
Yeah.
in-person networking. I'm glad you called out the average attendee in the room, who we won't restate that, but it tends to be true. There's always one of them, and then also Facebook groups, which are basically just virtual networking groups, especially if it's local. Like, you're looking for local services or to meet other people locally. Those are building relationships with
Yeah.
people who have things in common. So um, that's why I don't like going for paid ads or just generic stuff on social media, because the lift to get a client is so big versus just building a relationship somehow. So tell me about how you leverage those two avenues, but just building relationships in general to actually continue to grow your business over the years.
Yeah, that kind of spiraled. At first, I was just getting clients from it, and then I began getting referrals from it. And that, you get one client and then they refer a couple of friends, so now you've got 2 clients, and it kind of tends to multiply from there. So building relationships, and honestly, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who is a self-professed workaholic, because I love what I do, it's kind of where you make your friendships too. You get into group of people that push you and challenge you. And it's, it's a really cool thing. But also, going back to the shoestring budget for just a sec, when you are able to make those connections and make those friendships and those relationships, you also get access to those people's resources just like they get access to yours. And so if it means that I'm having a cup of coffee with someone on a bad day, then they get access to my work without necessarily, having to be like the whole, if we're just talking business and they're like, I'm really having trouble with it, they might actually get a really good benefit from having coffee with me. And in the same token, I've also been able to get access to some really amazing professional work on, I will say, a little bit of a budget. I've been able to barter services. I've been able to, and I don't always recommend bartering because then you can kind of get into a slippery slope of, great, you've got all these resources, but you don't actually have any money. You need to have a balance there. But when you're in the right scenario and in the right setup, you can really get access to some amazing resources that otherwise you wouldn't have been able to have access to if you were just trying to do it all from your laptop within your house and not go outside.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about building a business on a shoestring budget, but it's still coming back to relationships, which I'm glad this is where the conversation went, because
Yeah.
the general consensus of today is go market to a cold audience on the internet who you don't know. And business has never been that way. And I don't believe it ever will be that way. Even in the world of AI that we live in, I find time and time again, it's the personal touches, it's the human touches that go above and beyond everything else we do. No matter how much you automate, a handwritten thank you card will still go 10 times further than an automated email. And I stand by that.
Absolutely. I got to tell you, as someone who is terrible at those notes, it is gold though. But as a client, like I've had people that I've never even worked with that I've just had coffee with, and they've sent me a note, and every time it just warms my heart. And it really is. I think you're right. It comes down to relationships, because also those people who have those relationships with you, they're going to be your support net. They are going to be the people that you can go to, either A, when you have no idea and you're just stuck and you need to learn something new, or again, like just emotionally, it is kind of a cool club that we're all in, that if you tell somebody you're in business for yourself and they're in business, you have a friend, and there's a couple of people who take that too far and they're like, oh, hey, let me give you my card. No, 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 no. But if you get really good with those relationships, you've got a support system that you have no idea how powerful it is.
Absolutely. Well, I want to give the world your business card, so to speak. I put your website on the screen here, wherever you're watching or listening. It's also in the show notes down below. You can go check out Chelsea and schedule a consultation. See, maybe she can help you grow your business with hypnotherapy. And I'm a believer in the product or the service, if you will. I think it's a phenomenal option that's way better than traditional therapy. So if it's right for you, I would say definitely go check it out. Go check out Chelsea. She's I can tell, I can feel you through the screen here. We've built a relationship. Imagine that. It's the secret of podcasting. I love this medium because I get to meet amazing people like you. You get to share your story and I get to hear about it selfishly. Podcasting is the biggest cheat code in the world because I just get to talk to amazing people like you. So thank you for coming on this show, Chelsea. It's amazing to have you here.
Thank you, Brandon. It was just so cool to see you geek out just there about podcasting. I love working with passionate people, and this was just so fun for me. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely. I have one last question that I just think is important, because we all need to be kind of looking at where we're going, right? I mean, our story is fantastic of what got us here. It's always inspirational to be able to hear you grew your business on a shoestring budget, but where do you want to take your business, and at least what's your plan to get there in the next 3 to 5 years? Where are you going?
Yeah, so I just launched a membership format where other people can have access to not only recorded audios of my best work and my best protocols, but also live one-on-one coaching. So I love doing my private sessions. I want to reach more people. I really like this. This world is we're in interesting times, and there's a
Good way
lot
to
of
put it.
anxiety, a lot of pain out there, and this is no time for me to be playing small. So right now I am inviting more and more people into that membership to join that community, and to get healing on the go whenever they need it. And So that's my big passion project right now. I wouldn't say it started out as like a 3 to 5 year goal, but it just came up and we started working on it, and then it's growing into this thing that's kind of taken on a life of its own. So I think I'm really going to nurture that and just enjoy expanding my reach. And in doing that, the money in the business will grow.
Preach. Impact first, everything else follows. I love it. That's fantastic advice. So, Chelsea, thank you again for coming. For you watching, listening, wherever you are, first, go to her website. Go check it out. You're going to want to see that. Second, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a minute of this daily ridiculous show where we hopefully just disrupt the way you think a little tiny bit about growing your business and help you get to that next level. One crazy episode at a time. Thank you for listening. We'll see you on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch.